Hey, stuffers. If the dinosaurs were a hoax, then who is selling the skeletons for $32 million? That's insider trading. Alex here, and welcome back to Stuff with Alex. In the annals of human paranoia, few claims seem quite as outlandish as the idea that the entire 180 million year reign of the dinosaurs was fabricated. But here is the real kicker, the detail that should stop you mid-scroll. The actual, quantifiable crime being committed in the world of prehistory isn't about whether Tyrannosaurus rex was real. It's about how much he costs. We're talking about colossal money, the kind of money that makes a mob boss blush. A single, relatively complete dinosaur fossil, like a magnificent Stegosaurus or a famous T-Rex specimen, can sell at auction for tens of millions of dollars. This isn't academic research anymore. It's a full-blown luxury trade, the ultimate rich guy flex. Nothing screams status like having a 66 million-year-old skeleton in your Silicon Valley office. It's like buying an NFT, but this one is actually made of rock and slightly less prone to market crashes. This massive financial valuation drives an underground industry rife with illegal smuggling, documented forgery attempts, and outright greed, pushing irreplaceable scientific resources into private hands and away from public study. Sometimes, these fossils are even ground into a fine powder and sold as dragon bones in traditional medicine under the belief that they possess healing powers like calming nerves or stopping bleeding. The massive financial incentive is where the actual criminal conspiracy lies. The documented corruption and the astronomical prices fuel the skeptics' core argument. If the scientists and dealers are so shady, why should we trust the bones? This real-world corruption provides the perfect ammunition for those who already distrust institutions and elites, allowing them to make the subsequent, completely illogical leap: if the trade is criminal, the bones themselves must be fake. This video is not just about debunking the idea that dinosaurs are fake. It is about examining why people believe a lie that is geographically and logistically impossible to maintain, and why the scientific evidence designed to verify the reality of dinosaurs is so resilient. The core premise of the anti-dinosaur conspiracy, Dino Doubt, is that all fossils are elaborate modern-day hoaxes, either meticulously carved from rock or assembled from miscellaneous animal remains, creating prehistoric Frankensteins. It is truly strange how and when this conversation gained steam. While dinosaurs first showed up about 243 million years ago, the online discussion about them being a hoax surprisingly took off around June 2015. Why then? None other than the release of Jurassic World. The hyper-realistic CGI in the film convinced viewers that if computers could make them look that real, maybe they never walked the Earth at all, creating a sudden energized wave of conspiracists flooding social media. Stuffers, smash that like button if you're already confused or if Jurassic Park made you doubt reality. We are here to dissect this narrative, going beyond the question of if dinosaurs existed, to asking why the convergence of a niche scientific topic, high-value luxury trading, and modern anti-science sentiment created such a fertile ground for these specific conspiracy theories. The true tragedy is not the alleged hoax, but the fact that real financial corruption among the elite collectors is used to undermine legitimate global scientific inquiry. When a conspiracy theory needs a villain, it always finds one in the shadows, usually wearing a tuxedo and laughing maniacally. In the dinosaur hoax narrative, the villain is Big Palaeo, an alleged cartel of self-interested paleontologists who bury bones around the world and dig them up later. The conspiracists argue that these academics have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, creating a hapless and easily exploitable market to justify their existence and funding. Who else benefits, they ask? Only the person who gets to wear the cool hat and shout, "Dig up that femur." This claim of elite control has roots in historical fact, which is often how conspiracies gain their initial credibility. During the Long Gilded Age, which stretched from the end of Reconstruction to the start of the Great Depression, the science of vertebrate paleontology benefited significantly from the philanthropic largesse of wealthy financial elites such as J.P. Morgan. This fact, that the early science was indeed controlled by wealthy tycoons, provides the modern conspiracist movement with a weak yet recognizable hook. They successfully feed into the common anti-establishment cabal of elites narrative, suggesting that Big Paleo is simply an extension of the New World Order, orchestrating global events to maintain control and profit. Adding to the complexity, a significant portion of the anti-dinosaur sentiment is driven by a deep ideological distrust of scientific timelines. Many skeptics cite Christianity and anti-evolutionary views as primary reasons they don't think dinosaurs existed or that they lived millions of years ago. Thus, the conspiracy becomes a strange cocktail of ideological purity, rejecting evolution, mixed with cynical profit motive, claiming the evidence is fake to maintain the cartel's wealth. The commercialization of rare fossil specimens directly fuels the skepticism. When complete specimens are rare, they command the highest prices, creating a powerful incentive for professional forgers to assemble fraudulent single skeletons by joining multiple unrelated pieces. These are the actual Frankensteins of the fossil world. This financial desperation leads to the artificial modification of fossils to obtain a better market price. Furthermore, the luxury trade exacerbates inequality in science, concentrating rare research material in private collections or institutions with the financial means to acquire them, often restricting access for reproducible scientific study. This situation means the science itself is caught in a difficult position. The critics correctly point out the systemic corruption in the fossil trade, which is a genuine problem, but then illogically pivot to claim that because some people are smuggling or modifying fossils for profit, all evidence of prehistory must be a centrally organized hoax. The analysis of this phenomenon shows that the Big Paleo conspiracy successfully exploits legitimate scientific vulnerabilities to create a plausible veneer for a fundamentally baseless hoax theory. The real challenge is showing that while the financial motivations are truly murky, this isn't academic research, this is an auction house bloodbath, the foundational geological reality of the bones remains unshakable. We lose a magnificent specimen like a Stegosaurus because some Silicon Valley bro needed a talking point for his VC meetings. The core premise of the dinosaur hoax is a logistical nightmare masquerading as a global secret. The idea requires that global scientific teams have been engaged in a centuries-long multi-continent prank, carving rocks to look like skeletons. If all the fossils are fake, then we're talking about thousands of artists, geologists, and laborers across every nation on Earth, the US, China, Russia, Argentina, who have kept this secret for over 200 years. That's a bigger logistical feat than building the pyramids, and they supposedly did it just to make kids love Triceratops. The absurdity becomes clear when you consider how easy it is to fake a simple fossil compared to the complexity of the real thing. Anyone can, for instance, satirically detail how to create a fake trace fossil or mold using everyday materials. You flatten some modeling clay, press a toy dinosaur into it, pour in some plaster of Paris, wait for it to set, and then, for that professional touch, you brush some cold coffee on the surface to make it look real. Pro tip: if your multi-million-dollar T-Rex smells like a cheap morning brew, you might have a problem. Contrast that simple artificial process with the demands of natural fossilization. Real fossils require extremely specific conditions. The remains of an organism must be rapidly buried by moving sediment, such as sand, silt, or mud, usually deposited by ancient rivers. Over millennia, this burial creates sedimentary rock layers. Crucially, the process of fossilization involves the gradual replacement of the original biological material with minerals, turning the bone into rock. Fakers attempting to manufacture 200 million years of history would need to artificially mineralize millions of tons of material, ensuring the chemical composition matches the surrounding ancient geology. Furthermore, the consistency of the fossil record around the world defeats the notion of decentralized, independent forgers. Dinosaurs are not found randomly. They are found exclusively in Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous rock formations, the Mesozoic era, all over the globe. If Big Palaeo were faking it, the fossils would inevitably turn up in younger, Cenozoic, post-extinction layers, or in granite, igneous rock, but they do not. The geological context is consistent across continents. This consistency extends beyond dinosaurs themselves. If the dinosaur fossils, which are preserved through mineralization in sedimentary rock, are a hoax, then other ancient life forms preserved in the exact same sedimentary fashion, such as ammonites, trilobites, and ancient shelled sea creatures, must also be hoaxes, stretching the conspiracy theory back hundreds of millions of years. The geographical consistency required for this hoax reveals the conspiracy theory's ultimate flaw. It demands a level of flawless, worldwide, transpolitical coordination across centuries that simply violates basic principles of human behavior and competitive science. Genuine historical scientific frauds like Piltdown Man were eventually caught and were always localized deceptions, not global 200-year performance art pieces. One of the cornerstone arguments of the dino doubters concerns chronology. Skeptics frequently misuse carbon-14 dating on dinosaur bones to suggest they are only a few thousand years old, contradicting the millions of years required for evolution and geological timelines. Their claim is that the presence of carbon-14 proves recent existence. The scientific reality, however, is that carbon-14 dating is the wrong tool for the job. Carbon-14 has a relatively short half-life and is only reliable for dating artifacts that are younger than about 50,000 years. If one applies carbon-14 dating to a specimen that is 66 million years old, the reading will be meaningless or simply indicate contamination. If I put my grandpa's 1950s steak in the carbon dating machine, it might read 5,000 years old because the test isn't designed for things that are older than 50,000 years. Using carbon-14 on a dinosaur is like using a stapler to fix a leaky dam. It's technologically incompatible. Paleontologists must rely on the true geological clock, absolute dating. Since the fossilized bone material is made of mineralized rock, it is very difficult to date directly. Instead, researchers use radioactive dating methods on the igneous, or volcanic, layers of rock that are found immediately above or below the sedimentary layers containing the fossils. The mechanism for this relies on potassium-argon dating. This technique targets gray volcanic tuffs, layers of cooled ash laid down after ancient eruptions. As these ash layers cool, radioactive potassium-40 contained within them begins to break down into the rare gas argon at a known measurable rate. By comparing the ratio of stable potassium to argon, scientists can accurately estimate the time passed since the volcanic tuffs were formed. This reliance on volcanic markers utilizes a crucial technique known as tephrochronology. Tephrochronology involves analyzing the unique chemical signature of the volcanic ash layers to establish a precise global chronological framework for geological events. This means a unique ash layer found in India, dated to 66 million years ago, can be chemically correlated to an identical layer found in North America, acting as synchronized global time markers. The stability and repeatability of potassium-argon dating on these globally synchronized volcanic layers provide an independent, external check on the fossil record. The fact that radiometric dating consistently places the fossil-bearing strata into the Mesozoic era around 66 million years ago proves that the timeline itself is not a paleontological fabrication. The conspiracy would require coordinating volcanic eruptions in prehistory and faking the resulting chemical signatures across continents, making the hoax geographically and temporally insurmountable. The dinosaur skeptics often assume that after 66 million years, a fossil should be a black, shiny, perfectly mineralized rock, arguing that any variance proves the hoax. While it is true that many heavily mineralized fossils appear black and shiny, The appearance of preserved bones varies dramatically based on the specific preservation conditions, resulting in materials that can be light-colored, dull, or even opalized, yet still be millions of years old. The preservation is determined by the geology, not the calendar. The most damning evidence against the carved rock theory, however, comes from the revolutionary modern discovery that trace amounts of original organic material, including proteins and possible blood vessels, can survive for deep time. Paleontologist Mary Schweitzer's groundbreaking work revealed still soft tissues, including probable blood vessels, bone-building cells, and connective tissue in specimens like B. rex. This finding upended conventional wisdom, which assumed all soft tissue would decay and disappear. The preservation of cellular and protein structures confirms a biological reality far beyond simple carving or counterfeiting. Furthermore, advanced imaging technology, such as CT scans, allows paleontologists to see the complex three-dimensional structure of fossils, revealing previously unrecognized structures like the exoperia or soft tissue in the cheek region of many dinosaur species. This internal complexity cannot be replicated by basic carving techniques. Paleontologists also use the internal fossil evidence alongside biomechanics, applying physics and engineering principles to accurately model the movement, musculature, and behavior of non-avian dinosaurs. This rigorous, multidisciplinary reconstruction further validates the biological reality of the organisms. However, the ultimate unfalsifiable evidence lies not in bones, but in trace fossils. Trace fossils are preserved evidence of behavior, such as footprints, trackways, eggs, nests, and even fossilized dung, coprolites. You can fake a bone, I guess, but you can't fake an entire herd of 10-ton monsters walking in synchronicity through ancient river mud 70 million years ago and then have that mud perfectly turned to rock only to be found in the exact sequence of layers across the planet. That's just sloppy forgery. The existence of preserved soft tissue, while seemingly counterintuitive for material that has been entombed for tens of millions of years, directly refutes the carved rock theory. This internal evidence confirms biological remnants, not mineralized forgeries, because organic molecules like collagen would decay if they were recently fabricated. They are preserved organic molecules, confirming ancient life. In contrast to the scientific community, which self-corrects and quickly exposes genuine frauds like the Piltdown Man, the dinosaur hoax theory steadfastly ignores this definitive physical and technological evidence. Having established that dinosaurs did, in fact, exist, and left behind a globally consistent, datable record, we pivot to the legitimate scientific controversy: how they died. Forget the Big Palaeo cartel. The real scientific drama involves a lone gunman and a massive co-conspirator. The reigning theory regarding the mass extinction event at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary about 66 million years ago posits that the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs and 75% of life was caused by the impact of a large asteroid. This is the famous Alvarez hypothesis, proposed nearly 30 years ago by physicist Luis Alvarez and his son Walter, a geologist. The initial evidence was compelling: a thin layer of iridium, an element rare on Earth but common in asteroids, found in the Earth's sediment dating precisely to the time of the Great Die-Off. This global iridium layer suggested an asteroid had vaporized on impact, spreading a cloud throughout the stratosphere. The argument seemed sealed in the 1990s with the realization that a huge 180-kilometer-wide crater centered near Chicxulub, Mexico, was almost certainly caused by a giant impact at exactly the time the extinctions occurred. The magnitude of the event was staggering. The space rock was 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter, and the collision released energy equivalent to 100 million megatons of TNT, over 1 billion times the energy of the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Subsequent scientific work, including a 2016 drilling project into the crater's peak ring, strongly supported the hypothesis, confirming the presence of shocked granite and evidence of colossal seawater movement. However, the asteroid may have had a partner in crime: massive volcanism. Gerda Keller, a Princeton University paleontologist, argues that colossal volcanic activity played a major, if not primary, role. Geologists have long known that a swath of central India, known as the Deccan Traps, was buried by a series of eruptions around the time of the dinosaurs' demise. The scope of the Deccan Traps is immense. The remains of the flows still cover some 193,000 square miles, 500,000 square kilometers. These eruptions would have pumped vast amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, triggering runaway global warming and acid rain, which would have been bad news for living things. The scientific debate centers not on whether the impact or the volcanoes happened, but purely on timing and contribution. Were the eruptions synchronized precisely enough to cause the mass extinction? Or did the asteroid simply deliver the killing blow to an already stressed ecosystem? This is the real deep dive, stuffers. This isn't about if T-Rex was real. It's about whether he died from a massive cosmic haymaker or if he just choked on volcanic fumes first. It's a scientific drama. This controversy over the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction mechanism demonstrates the profound strength of the scientific method. Scientists are constantly testing and trying to falsify the dominant hypothesis. Despite the international panel endorsing the asteroid theory in 2010, they still allocate resources and meeting time to discuss and test strong counterarguments like Keller's volcano evidence. This legitimate scientific process, which seeks truth through constant scrutiny and the use of complex multivariable arguments, stands in stark opposition to the conspiracy mindset, which is generally designed to resist falsification by evidence or lack thereof. My theory is simple. The conspiracy would have to be smarter than geological reality. And geology, folks, is brutal. The dinosaur hoax conspiracy fails because it cannot account for the sheer number of global, synchronized, independently verifiable markers that confirm both deep time and a precise catastrophic event 66 million years ago. No human organization, secret society, or cartel, especially when relying on 19th century technology, could achieve this level of simultaneous interlocking forgery across every continent. The required coordination defies all logical limits of human organization and secrecy. The scientific proof is built upon three pillars of evidence, each independently cross-referencing the others. Pillar 1. Stratigraphic lock-in, geology. The location of dinosaur fossils is not random. The remains are exclusively found in specific, predictable layers of sedimentary rock. These layers are chronologically locked in place by absolute dating methods, primarily potassium-argon dating, which is applied to the volcanic tuffs immediately surrounding the sedimentary deposits. Using tephrochronology, scientists verified that the decay rates of these volcanic layers are consistent globally, proving the deep timeline. Therefore, the timeline is proven independently of the bones themselves. The chemistry of ancient cooled lava is not prone to hoaxing. Pillar 2. The global iridium marker, geochemistry. At the final layer of rock containing dinosaur fossils, a globally uniform layer of iridium exists. This geochemical signature, which is rare on Earth but common in asteroids, is found in scattered sites around the world, proving that it spread throughout the stratosphere following a massive vaporization event. This is a singular, geographically consistent chemical signature that acts as a definitive "you are here" marker for the time of extinction. It is physically impossible for a 19th century paleontologist to fake this iridium layer in sedimentary rock beds across rival nations like the United States, China, and Russia, ensuring its exact presence everywhere, all at the 66 million year boundary. Pillar 3. The Chicxulub cross-reference, impact physics. The dated impact crater in the Yucatan Peninsula, Chicxulub, which formed precisely 66 million years ago, perfectly aligns with the date derived from the potassium-argon dating of the volcanic tuffs and the geochemical event recorded by the global iridium layer. My logical conclusion is that the simplest explanation, that a giant rock hit the planet and killed the giant lizards, is the only one that is scientifically and logically coherent. The alternative requires thousands of independent paleontologists, geochemists, and geologists working over decades to not only fake the bones, but also to fake the chemical signature, Iridium, and then build a 180-kilometer-wide, 66-million-year-old granite crater in the Yucatan just to make the timeline fit. The table below summarizes why the hoax fails against basic physical proof. This deep dive proves that dinosaurs are not a hoax perpetuated by a secret society of academics who only want to wear pith helmets. The evidence for their existence is overwhelming, multi-layered, and cross-referenced by fields ranging from geology and geochemistry to biomechanics and advanced imaging. The real, documented crime is not in the science, but in the greed that turns irreplaceable knowledge into a commodity for the super rich, hindering the scientific process for the sake of bragging rights. Our journey through millions of years, examining creatures like the terrifying, if slow, T-Rex or the semi-aquatic Spinosaurus, should lead us to a single philosophical takeaway. The sheer scale and complexity of life on this planet, past and present, is immense. It forces us to acknowledge that the world operates on scales of time and power that are often incomprehensible to our daily experience. The act of studying this ancient life is fundamentally the search for truth, which requires wisdom and discernment to separate genuine scientific inquiry from intentional deception. The great wonder of creation, whether you believe it unfolded over 6 days or 600 million years, is undeniable. The detailed mechanisms of fossilization, the precision of radiometric dating, and the catastrophic scale of the asteroid impact all point to a grand, powerful, and complex natural order. Our responsibility as thinking individuals is to approach the world with curiosity and a desire to understand reality, exercising wisdom to avoid the pitfalls of easily accessible yet utterly illogical deception. The real folly is not believing in a creature that is 66 million years old. The folly is replacing verifiable truth with intentional falsehoods. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 8. Okay, thanks for watching. Peace out. Goodbye, guys.